I can't do this. That is what Lindsay Clancy said today in day 12 of the trial against her. I'm going to play some of that footage for you in just a moment. That happened this afternoon when medical examiner Dr. Barbara Olson was testifying about the autopsy of Cora Clancy.
What about injuries?
All right, Counsel, could want me to take a break this time, all right?
All right. Jordan, close your notebook. Place some other chairs, please. Just wait for me.
That was just one of many emotional breakdowns today from Lindsay Clancy during multiple medical examiners' testimonies. I have my own opinions about today, but I've been trying to keep these recaps factual only without my opinions, so I am going to keep going with that. I would like to hear your opinions on the testimony from medical examiners and Lindsay's reactions, but I am not going to recap or go into detail about the testimony we heard about those autopsies. So let's go back to this morning and recap that. The first witness this morning was State Police Sgt. Daniel Lawler. Now, I've already made a couple of videos today on something big that came out in his testimony, but he also testified about his involvement on January 24th. He went to the hospital and later he assisted in the search of the Clancy home. Reddington, of course, asked him about the nightstand drawer, but he also did not search that. We'll see if there's ever a witness on the stand who did search that drawer, but I know Reddington is going to keep asking about it. The biggest part of his testimony and what I made videos about earlier this morning was during his cross-examination when Reddington questioned him about Dr. Paul Zizil. Lawler testified about a discussion with the lead investigator concerning a theory of the government's that Zizil may have instructed Lindsay to call Patrick and tell him that she heard voices. There was a very lengthy sidebar after Reddington brought that up with this witness. The jury was removed for a bit and then they were brought back in and questioning continued. When the jury returned, he agreed that there was no investigative basis for that theory. He also testified that he was outside of Lindsay's hospital room and could not hear what was actually being said between Lindsay and that doctor. And Dr. Zizil was sent to the hospital by the defense. So we'll see what else comes out with that, but that's my recap on this witness. If you're curious, you can go back and see the two videos I made this morning about him. We also heard testimony from Latiesha Dukes, which is a name that we've heard a lot in this trial, so this was a very anticipated witness for a lot of people. She is a mental health clinician who worked at South Shore Perinatal Program, and she met with Lindsay Clancy 4 times in December 2022. She testified that Lindsay had been referred to her for postpartum anxiety, lack of sleep, frequent passive thoughts of not wanting to be alive, and intrusive thoughts in the same category or nature. She said that Lindsay did not report having an actual plan to harm herself, and because there was no specific plan, Dukes did not consider it a crisis that required emergency intervention. She also discussed with Lindsay getting a higher level of care, partial hospitalization, and Lindsay on December 12th told Dukes that she was going to be beginning a program at Norwell on December 20th. Dukes instead recommended Women and Infants Hospital because they specifically treat postpartum in women, and Lindsay would be able to bring her infant, Callan, with her to that program. So Lindsay then went to that program on December 20th. Now, we'll talk about cross-examination in just a moment, but to finish up direct, Dukes testified that she did not observe mania, delusions, or psychosis in Lindsay, and by December 19th, her last appointment with Lindsay Clancy, she believed that she was improving. She said that Lindsay was more engaged, smiling and laughing, exercising, and reporting that she was enjoying time with her family. But then we got to cross-examination by Reddington. Dukes treated Lindsay during the same period as Rebecca Gelada and Julie Paul, who also worked at South Shore Perinatal Program, but Dukes testified that she did not read Gelada or Paul's notes because she wanted to approach Lindsay with new eyes. She also did confirm that she would have been allowed to read those notes, but again, she chose not to. She also acknowledged that Lindsay had lost about 10 pounds in a month. She cried when describing her anxiety and numbness, and that when Dukes believed that she was improving on December 19th, she did not know that Lindsay had gone to the emergency department seeking help just 4 days earlier. And Latiesha Dukes was also asked on cross-examination, when you say that Lindsay was able to laugh, is that something that she told you, that she was laughing at home? And Dukes clarified that she meant Lindsay was able to laugh when she said something funny in that appointment. He also asked her if she was aware of why Lindsay had been turned down by the Women and Infants program. She said that she was aware that Lindsay was not accepted, but she didn't know why. So Reddington asked her if she would be surprised that she was turned down because Women and Infants felt that she was over-medicated and that needed to be dealt with. She said that she was surprised to know that. He also asked if she would be surprised to know that Women and Infants tried to reach out to Gelada to talk to her about Lindsay's prescriptions, but Gelada didn't answer or ever call back. She also said she was unaware of that. Reddington asked her if Lindsay had ever been administered the Edinburgh postpartum assessment, and she said, to my knowledge, no, but we know from prior testimony from Gelada and Paul that Lindsay was given that assessment multiple times at South Shore Perinatal's program where this witness worked. He also asked her about substance use, and we had heard earlier through the testimony of the psychiatrist, Jennifer Tufts, we had heard that she documented that Lindsay was drinking 1 to 2 drinks 5 nights a week. Well, in this substance use form that Dukes had her fill out, Lindsay said that she had stopped drinking in 2019, and that was the period that she was drinking 5 nights a week, 1 to 2 drinks, and she was doing that for anxiety. He also asked her about any marijuana use, and she said that according to this form that Lindsay filled out, she only took that one gummy on November 15th, 2022, which we've heard about in previous testimony. That was not all of her testimony, but all that I'm going to recap. I'd like to know what you thought about Latiesha Dukes. Today, and especially this afternoon, was just brutal. Again, I'm going to keep my opinion out of it. I try really, really hard. I am not perfect, but I try really hard to keep my opinions out of things and just summarize for you very shortly what happened in the trial each day. So I hope that I am doing that. When this trial is over, I am sure I'll talk about my opinions. I talked about my opinions some before the trial started, but right now is not the time for that. There are plenty of opinions going around. So tell me yours in the comments. What did you think about the testimony today? What did you think about Lindsay's outburst? And I'll see you tomorrow evening for a recap on day 13. But most importantly, the way that I end every single video about this case. Rest in peace to the 3 children at the center of this case and the 3 most important pieces of this case, Cora, Dawson, and Callan.